Welcome back. I am reacting to top 10 disturbing small towns in West Virginia hiding pure evil. Now, that's a lot to say. Don't forget to like and subscribe. The main reason I'm watching this, I do live in West Virginia, so I'm just kind of see if I know these places. I don't know all of West Virginia. To be honest with you, I rarely go anywhere, even within West Virginia. So we'll see what we got. Let's see where the pure evil is hiding. Ooh, maybe if I become a popular YouTuber, I'll start traveling to these places.
So are we just going to go through every state in the United States?
We might.
You might.
It's totally possible. Today, it's West Virginia.
West Virginia. I don't know if we can do that.
Oh,
that's
copyright.
If we cut it off right there, we'll be fine, I think.
Let's
creepy
do it.
stuff.
Yeah.
Creepy stuff going on in West Virginia. So get ready.
Yeah. Could be in the mountains, Mama. Shepherdstown, West Virginia, is arguably one of the most haunted places in America, according to those who have visited the town and experienced its dark, paranormal atmosphere. The town was actually formed long before America became a country. Well, 46 years at least, and it was originally named Mecklenburg, but that changed when Thomas Shepard obtained the land in 1734. It's considered a historic Civil War area, as just 3 miles up from the town, the Antietam Battle, the most gruesome battle of the Civil War, was fought. A hotel in the town is also home to some pretty dark deaths. In one instance, a man took his own life after losing a card game. In another, a young man was killed for winning. Both men are said to roam around the hotel, and many claim to hear the younger of the two crying out for his mother, as he did during his last living moments. But perhaps the most famous
I've heard of Shepherdstown, but I don't know anything about it.
sighting in the town is that of a dark, shadowy figure that lurks in the clock tower after dark. Oh, and the bakery is also haunted, with almost anyone who enters it claiming to have felt the sensation of hands pushing up against them and hearing whispered conversations in the waiting area despite being...
She also mentioned I'm not a big believer in ghosts. I believe there's like some things that go on, but ghosts, I'm not a big believer. Just never have been a big believer in ghosts.
completely alone.
Next on the list, we have Dingus in Mingo County. Love that name, Dingus. This is a very small and remote community. There are under 2,000 residents, and one of the things that makes this place really interesting is that one of the only ways to access the town is through a mile-long, very narrow, one-lane tunnel, which can be aggravating at the best of times, I imagine, and very dangerous at the worst. But Dingus also has a pretty dark history. It was a railroad and mining town at one time, and it was one of the most lawless places in the state. Lawmen struggled to keep order, and shootouts between police and outlaws was pretty common. And one thing the residents did not take kindly to were outsiders, and a lot of this was racially motivated. It wasn't uncommon for immigrants to be met with armed townspeople at the other end of the tunnel who would use very aggressive methods to keep them away.
Now, I have heard about this tunnel. There's more than just this tunnel in West Virginia, but I don't know why, but I don't buy that this is the only way in and out of it. Maybe at one point, but nah, I don't buy that.
A lot of dark things happened at Dingus Tunnel.
But then again, it is West Virginia.
Not just from violence like this, but accidents as well, like train collisions. So, aside from all the dark history, it probably...
And if you didn't catch it, that used to be a train tunnel.
It's no surprise that many locals claim the tunnel to be quite haunted.
Next up, we have the Weston Asylum. You know,
This is one of the most popular places to come during Halloween.
we had to have at least one asylum on our list. It's classic. Back in the mid-1800s, the town of Weston was home to the controversially named Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. It was used to house and treat the mentally ill of the time. However, that pretty much meant anyone whose opinion opposed those in positions of authority, or women who sometimes cried. But I digress.
This place has also been featured on a lot of TV shows. I think it was actually even in a movie, used in a movie. But yeah, if you follow haunted stuff, you definitely have heard of this place.
While the exact number of deaths that occurred on the grounds remains unknown, local historian and state hospital expert Titus Swan has estimated the number to be in or above a 5-figure range, meaning that at least 10,000 people died in the hospital. So, like, no wonder this place is super haunted. I mean, I think we know what kind of torment went on in those places back in the day. Not only that, but this particular asylum was often overcrowded, meaning that even without what would today be considered gross misconduct, the living conditions were already pretty bleak. Today, those who enter the once abandoned building that has since been reopened to the public as a historic landmark have reported feeling a sense of extreme dread, seeing mysterious, shadowy figures roaming the halls, and
I think it's been reopened to the public as a haunted location. That's what it's most popular for. I have never been to it. I have no desire to get to it. It's just not stuff that interests me. But my daughter has actually been to it. They actually took a school trip to it for Halloween. So she got to go and experience. I think my son went to it as well. So, yeah, it's never appealed to me. I remember in high school people talking about going to it, but just not something. Like I said, I don't believe in ghosts. So I would probably be one of those people explaining what we're really feeling.
disembodied helpless screams of patients past.
Next up, we have Sheep Squatch of Boone County. I'm kind of cheating here with this one, adding a whole county to the list, but the creature has been spotted all...
Wait a minute. What did he say? Did he say Sasquatch? I have never heard of that. That's a new one for me.
So I kind of had to. The Sheep Squatch, also sometimes referred to as the White Thing, is described as a large, woolly, furred monster with goat horns and razor-sharp teeth. Sightings of the creature started being reported in Boone throughout the 90s, beginning in 94, when 2 youngsters spotted the strange creature
That's not that old, 94. I was expecting this to go back further.
while playing in their yard. Now, what I find interesting about these reports is that the creature is always described as having white fur. Now, why do I find this interesting? Well, with Bigfoot sightings, there's usually a chance people could be misidentifying a bear, whereas here, like, what animal is there the size of a bear with white fur? Polar bears, but they're not really roaming around West Virginia. The creature was spotted again in 1995 by a couple driving down a road in Boone County. They spotted a large white-furred animal sitting in a ditch. They didn't know what it was, so they stopped to look. Then it raced towards them. They sped out of there, but found large scratch marks on their car once they made it back home.
If you're gonna do an asylum,
Yeah, don't stop to look at animals on the side of the road. Just don't. If you're going to stop, don't get out the car. Just look and be, what is that, and take off.
might as well do a prison, specifically the West Virginia Penitentiary located in the small town of Moundsville. The prison opened its doors in 1863 after West Virginia split from just Virginia, becoming its own state. During its 119-year operation, some pretty dark stuff went on inside of its walls, which earned the prison a spot on the United States Department of Justice's top 10 most violent correctional facilities list. The recreational area of the prison, located in the basement, often saw various forms of illegal activity, including assault, violation assault, substance abuse, and even killings. At any given time during the penitentiary's operation, between 600 and 700 inmates were held on the grounds, but even still the prison was highly overcrowded, with inmates often having to sleep on the floor. And over the years, the property saw almost 1,000 deaths. Many people believe that those who died within the prison never actually left. In fact, many visitors to the grounds have seen and even photographed the shadowy figure of a man that roams the halls. And the staff working on the premises of what is now a historical site have reported being accosted while on.
Now, there still is a Moundsville prison, but obviously there's a new one. And this is the old one. I didn't know. Honestly, I didn't know it had been around that long, the prison system like that. But yeah, because we still have people who come here and go to prison. They come to our prison. I think, is that the one that mob hitman went to and got killed? I think it is. I think it was Moundsville.
On the job. Oh, and remember the basement? Many people have claimed to have heard screams coming from its depths, but most are far too scared to go down and check it out.
In the town of Princeton sits the Lake Shawnee Amusement Park. Unless you live in Princeton, West Virginia, or are a paranormal enthusiast, though, you've probably never heard of the place. It's not much of a tourist destination anymore because it's been abandoned since...
That's funny. How do you work for the Princeton, for stuff in Princeton from home? And they're on here.
1988. It's said that the park was built on cursed land, and that's not just because people have seen specters lingering around the park. It's because there were tragic deaths at the park, and the place was built on land with some pretty dark history. There was a massacre on this land back in 1785. The landowner, Mitchell Clay, had lost 2 of his sons to a Native American raiding party and sought revenge. He gathered up a bunch of locals and attacked them right back. Then, in 1926...
A lot of, well, let's be honest, all the land is, but a huge chunk of West Virginia was where a lot of Native Americans hung out. There's, I think the Cherokee Nation is still in West Virginia. I want to say there's another one, and I can't think of the other one. I know the Cherokees are still here. But there is another one. I just can't remember. Oh, well. But, yeah, I'm not surprised that 2 people got killed and they went and massacred a whole bunch of other people that probably had nothing to do with it.
A man named Conley Trigg Snidow Sr. decided the land would be a perfect spot for a theme park. Over the years, there were 2 drownings in the pool. The park was also closed for a time after a failed health inspection. Then a former employee of the park bought the land in 1988, but was forced to close it down again just a year later because of increased insurance rates. So not the best luck for this place. And now the old structures like the Ferris wheel and swing ride stand eerily unused, coated in rust and haunted by ghosts. So they say.
This next one is pretty sad, but also pretty remarkable. In 1897 in Greenbrier County, and I can do a county because James did a county, so if we go down together. Anyways, in 1897 in Greenbrier County, Zona Shu was found dead. A funeral was held and Zona was laid to rest, but she couldn't rest, and so Zona's spirit visited her mother and explained to her that she had not died in the way everyone assumed she had, but instead she had been killed by her husband, who had been routinely aggressive throughout their entire marriage. Upon learning this information, Zona's mother demanded that her daughter's body be dug up and re-examined. And sure enough, upon closer inspection, it became clear to the prosecutor that Zona's neck had been broken. Her husband was arrested for the crime, and the city even installed a plaque recognizing Zona's ghost's involvement in the conviction of her killer.
The town of Harper's...
You know what I think? I think the mom knew and just didn't want to say. Or maybe she was there when it happened and thought the husband would pay her to keep her mouth shut. And so she's like, oh, the ghost told me.
Ferry is said to be teeming with paranormal activity. In fact, it's said to be the most haunted town in the state. Harper's Ferry played a big role in the Civil War.
I do know Harper's Ferry.
And a lot of both Union and Confederate soldiers died here. In September of 1862, an estimated 13,000 soldiers died at the Battle of Harper's Ferry. There were also...
Well, what's funny about a lot of these locations, I am near a lot of these locations. Some are maybe an hour away. So, yeah. I think most of these are like the northern part of West Virginia. So, I just think that's interesting.
Also a number of raids, one of which was led by John Brown, who's said to haunt the town to this day. Some also say that on some nights you can hear the ghostly sounds of drummers marching their way down High Street. And there's also the tale of Screaming Jenny. So Jenny had no family, no home. She lived in an abandoned storage shed by the Harper's Ferry Railroad. One fall night, Jenny sat huddled by a fire and then a spark leapt up from the fire, landing on her clothes, which began to catch fire. She was too cold and weak to notice before it was too late. She started screaming and rushed down the train tracks for help. Now here's the thing, when you're on fire, your vision is kind of blocked by light already, so she did not see the two glowing lights of a train rushing right towards her, and she was flattened by the train. Ever since this...
Now, I've never heard that story. Now, a lot of these stories I've never heard of. I think a couple of them I've heard of, but yeah, I've never heard of this story. Well, maybe I have, because now I think I do remember something about a train and the person on the train tracks.
On particularly cold autumn nights, some say they can hear the sounds of screams coming from the train tracks.
That's not the story I'm thinking of. There's another story where, like, a woman on train tracks, like a glowing woman you'll see on the train tracks certain nights.
Even seen a glowing figure flailing in the night, only to vanish into thin air once the train gets up too close.
Next up, we have the Parkersburg North Bend Rail Trail. I'm not sure if that's a tongue twister or the title of an adult movie. But anyways, in the daytime the trail is quite lovely and pretty serene, a great place to go for picnics and lunch dates. However, I suppose if your lunch date is at a park, it's already a picnic. Anyways, you could also go for breakfast, but I wouldn't recommend you go at night. Why? Because it's haunted. Well, part of it is, at least. Specifically, the 1,300 foot long tunnel that can be found along the trail, aka tunnel number 19. It is said that a woman wearing a white dress walks mournfully around inside of its dark walls. The legend goes that she was a bride riding on a train with her groom when she was pushed off and died beside the tracks. People in the area have also reported having found human bones in abandoned houses nearby, but that's an entirely different mystery for
Those are probably unsolved murders.
another day.
And finally, we have the town of Grafton, which is famous for one of the strangest cryptids in the United States, the Grafton Monster, which was first spotted in 1964 by a reporter named Robert Cockrell. He described the creature as this large set.
You know what's funny is, as I'm watching the video, a lot of these places look like where I live. I did not realize how cookie cutter we were. All these buildings. This could be downtown. Even this picture looks like someplace where I live. It's just like, wow, we had no originality when we built these different towns. It's like, I like that, so I'm going to put it here. I like where this is like that. Let's use it again. And it's like, oh, let's use it again and again and again.
7 to 9 foot tall beast with white skin and no visible head. He was driving home from work late at night when he spotted the creature in the middle of the road. They raced home, then gathered 2 of his friends to come back to the site to investigate. The creature was gone, but they claimed to have come across large footprints, and they also heard a strange, low, bellowing whistle sound in the distance. The next day, dozens of calls started coming into the local newspaper, with people reporting to have spotted a similar-looking creature, and that's when Cockrell decided to write his article. Reports that the cryptid started dying out by the end of that summer in 1964, but there's still sporadic sightings here and there. All right, there you have it, West Virginia. Any stuff we missed?
Yeah.
What? No Mothman? We're famous for that. There was even a movie. You guys dropped the ball. Could have had the Mothman. If you're doing counties, you could have had the Mothman on this. They still got some time to go. What else are they? Oh, is it bloopers, it looks like? Oh, yeah, don't need the bloopers. Anyway, Mothman. You guys left out Mothman. All right. That was interesting. A lot of these I hadn't heard of. A lot of them I knew about. And all these locations are nearby. I may have to maybe go drive through them. I won't stay around too late. And again, it is West Virginia, so I got to be careful where I go. I am the wrong shade. Unfortunately, it's a fact. With that aside, if you happen to come to West Virginia, let me know what you think of those places. Otherwise, thanks for tuning in. Take care, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Later.